Beneath the crushing depths of the ocean lies one of humanity's most unforgiving frontiers, a world of silence, pressure, and darkness where even the smallest error can turn deadly. Submarines, symbols of both technological mastery and military power, have also become tombs for hundreds of sailors trapped miles below the surface. When disaster strikes underwater, there's no escape, only darkness, dwindling oxygen, and the haunting knowledge that rescue may never come. In this video, we dive into the 5 most terrifying submarine deaths ever, tragedies that shook nations, baffled engineers, and revealed the true horror of being trapped beneath the sea. On April 10, 1963, the USS Thresher, a cutting-edge nuclear-powered attack submarine, descended into the deep waters off Cape Cod for a series of test dives that would prove fatal. On board were 129 people, Navy crew and shipyard personnel, confident in the submarine's modern systems and silent, sleek design. Thresher was the pride of the fleet, built to be fast, stealthy, and virtually untouchable, equipped with the latest sonar and weapon systems designed to hunt Soviet submarines in the tense shadow of the Cold War. But beneath the waves, the ocean had other plans. As the Thresher sank deeper during its trials, disaster struck silently. A failure in a silver-brazed pipe, designed to handle crushing pressures, allowed seawater to flood the submarine's engineering spaces. Electrical panels shorted. The nuclear reactor automatically shut down, cutting propulsion. The crew tried to surface, but every system seemed to betray them. The high-pressure air needed to blow. The ballast tanks had frozen, trapped in icy valves, leaving the sub powerless. Communications with the surface ship Skylark grew garbled, desperate. Minor difficulties. Have positive up angle, attempting to blow 900, then silence. Rescue ships raced to the area, but the Thresher had already vanished into the abyss. Even with sonar, deep-sea cameras, and the bathyscaphe Trieste, it took months to locate the wreckage nearly 8,400 feet below the surface. The submarine lay in shattered sections, spread across 33 acres, a haunting grave of twisted metal and lost lives. Investigators concluded that a single mechanical failure had cascaded into total catastrophe, an implosion that would have happened in moments, leaving no chance for survival. The loss of the Thresher sent shockwaves through the Navy and the world. It became a grim lesson in the fragility of even the most advanced technology, a stark reminder that beneath the ocean's surface, humanity is always vulnerable. The tragedy forced the U.S. Navy to overhaul submarine safety with the SubSafe program, ensuring that no failure, however small, would ever be taken lightly again. Yet, the memory of the Thresher remains chilling, a stark testament to the unforgiving depths and the invisible dangers lurking beneath the waves. On May 22, 1968, the USS Scorpion vanished in the Atlantic Ocean, taking with it all 99 sailors on board. Its disappearance remains one of the Cold War's most chilling mysteries, a submarine swallowed by the sea under circumstances that have never been fully explained. Was it a mechanical failure, a catastrophic accident, or something far more sinister? The truth has eluded the world for decades, leaving only speculation and the haunting silence of the deep. The Scorpion was a skipjack-class nuclear-powered submarine, sleek and deadly, designed to shadow, hunt, and outmaneuver any adversary. Commissioned in 1960, it quickly earned a reputation for daring missions, including a legendary Northern Run, where it is said the crew observed a Soviet missile launch through the periscope, narrowly evading the Soviet Navy in icy northern waters. Its service record was distinguished, marked by commendations for both its commanding officer and crew, but beneath the polished exterior lay vulnerabilities that would later prove fatal. In 1967, the Scorpion entered the Norfolk Naval Shipyard for a refueling overhaul, but instead of a thorough restoration, it received only emergency repairs. Cold War pressures meant speed was valued over safety, and the full suite of subsafe modifications measures designed to prevent disasters like the loss of the USS Thresher was delayed or ignored. Crucial emergency systems were untested. Structural inspections were cut short. The submarine returned to sea armed but incomplete, a ticking time bomb under the guise of a fully operational nuclear vessel. By May 1968, the Scorpion was on its final mission. It had departed the Mediterranean, briefly stopping at Naval Station Rota in Spain before heading west across the Atlantic. The crew had dropped off 2 sailors for personal emergencies, unaware that the ocean itself was about to claim them. On board, minor mechanical problems, freon leaks, electrical fires hinted at the submarine's fragility, but nothing prepared the Navy for what was about to happen. The last communications from Scorpion were brief, garbled radio messages sent to Rota, warning of a Soviet submarine task force ahead. It was closing in at a steady 15 knots, depth at 350 feet, preparing to observe, then silence. The submarine failed to arrive in Norfolk, and a massive search began. 55 ships and 35 aircraft scoured the Atlantic, but the ocean kept its secret. Only days later, fragments of the Scorpion were discovered at the bottom of the sea, more than 9,800 feet deep, broken into pieces, its hull crushed by the immense pressure of the Atlantic. Investigations were inconclusive. The Navy launched multiple inquiries, analyzing hydroacoustic signals and the wreckage itself. Some experts suggested a torpedo had detonated inside the submarine. Others argued hydrogen buildup during battery charging could have triggered a devastating explosion. A malfunctioning trash disposal unit, structural failures, even a Soviet attack have all been proposed. Theories abound, each more chilling than the last, that the crew was caught in a trap, or that a hot-running torpedo turned on its own vessel. Yet, no single explanation can fully account for the horror, the speed, and the totality of the loss. The wreck itself tells a story of violent destruction. The bow dug a trench into the seabed, the sail torn free, compartments telescoped and crushed, the torpedo room twisted but largely intact. Deep-sea photographs reveal the broken propulsion shaft lying on the ocean floor, a silent testament to forces no human could survive. Even today, the Scorpion rests undisturbed in its grave, its reactor and nuclear weapons intact, the surrounding waters free of radiation, as if the ocean itself is protecting the secrets of that night. Families of the lost sailors and historians alike have pressed for answers, even calling for the investigation to be reopened decades later. Yet the U.S. Navy has held firm, leaving the final chapter of the Scorpion story unwritten, a ghostly reminder of the dangers lurking beneath the waves during the height of the Cold War. Some claim the truth is hidden in secret files, others that the Soviets themselves might have been involved, retaliating for earlier submarine losses. Every theory is dark, every hypothesis terrifying, and the silence of the Atlantic remains the ultimate witness. The story of the Scorpion isn't just a tale of a submarine lost at sea. It's a chilling reminder that the ocean holds secrets far beyond human understanding, that the Cold War was fought in shadowed depths as much as on land, and that sometimes, no matter how advanced the technology or skilled the crew, the sea is merciless. The Scorpion vanished quietly, leaving only questions, fear, and a legacy that haunts every sailor who ever takes the plunge into the unknown. On the morning of August 12, 2000, deep in the icy waters of the Barents Sea, the Russian nuclear-powered submarine K-141 Kursk, a marvel of Cold War engineering, met a fate that would shock the world. Known as an Oscar II-class submarine, Kursk was a behemoth built to carry a deadly arsenal capable of taking out an entire aircraft carrier group. It was a floating fortress, bristling with 24 supersonic cruise missiles and torpedoes, each armed with warheads that could obliterate ships with terrifying precision. Yet, on that fateful day, all of that power would be rendered tragically useless. Kursk had been part of the Northern Fleet for only a few years, and despite its advanced design, reinforced hulls, stealth technology, and the ability to remain submerged for months, its crew had little time to truly master the vessel. The fleet had been underfunded and neglected during the chaotic 1990s, and many sailors were inexperienced. Still, pride swelled as Kursk prepared to join the largest Russian naval exercise in a decade, Summer X, alongside 30 other ships. The crew had been celebrated as the best in the fleet, confident in their skill, unaware of the silent danger lurking within their own submarine. It began as a routine. Kursk successfully fired a granite missile with a dummy warhead, a display of precision. But on August 12th, while preparing to fire practice torpedoes at the massive battlecruiser Pyotr Veliky, disaster struck. At 11:28 local time, the first explosion tore through the forward torpedo room. The source, a faulty hydrogen peroxide-fueled Type 65 torpedo. High-test peroxide, a volatile propellant, leaked through a tiny crack. When it met a catalyst, it expanded violently, igniting kerosene fuel, producing a blast equivalent to hundreds of kilograms of TNT. The force was catastrophic, ripping through the submarine's hull and sending a second, far larger explosion in its wake, 3 to 7 tons of TNT equivalent obliterating compartments, and leaving the vessel broken and flooded at the bottom of the sea, 108 meters down, 135 kilometers from Severomorsk. In the chaos that followed, the first 3 compartments were instantly destroyed. Only 23 sailors managed to survive initially, trapped in the 9th compartment at the stern. Captain Lieutenant Dmitry Kolesnikov penned a note listing those who had survived the initial blasts, a haunting record of lives clinging to hope amid the cold, dark steel coffin beneath the waves. The submarine carried chemical oxygen generators meant to provide breathable air, but seawater contamination turned them into deadly flash fires, consuming what little oxygen remained. Survivors briefly plunged under waist-deep water to escape the flames, but suffocation and fire claimed them all. Outside, the world waited and watched, helpless. Russia refused offers of aid from the British and Norwegian navies in the initial hours, and rescue operations were plagued by delay and bureaucratic missteps. President Vladimir Putin, only 4 months into office, was on holiday at a Black Sea resort. Though informed immediately of the disaster, he waited 5 days before returning, trusting the Navy's assurances that rescue efforts were underway. The public saw inaction, a nation in suspense and outrage as a hope dwindled for the trapped sailors. The aftermath was harrowing. When divers finally reached the submarine on August 21st, they discovered the grim reality of Kolesnikov's note: the burned compartments, the shattered vessel. Every one of the 118 men aboard had perished. The world was left grappling with images of a proud, deadly submarine reduced to a tomb beneath the waves, and with questions of how politics and pride had compounded the tragedy. Salvage operations began, a monumental task. Dutch companies Mamoué and Smit International undertook the careful work of raising Kursk. The bow, destroyed in the initial explosion, was cut away using a tungsten carbide cable, avoiding sparks that could ignite lingering gases. The submarine was towed to Severomorsk, stripped of its reactor fuel, while fragments of torpedoes were destroyed to prevent further danger. Official investigations concluded that the disaster stemmed from the torpedo explosion, but alternative explanations emerged. Many pointed to human error, insufficient training, poor maintenance, and flawed manuals. The crew had never been properly trained to handle such volatile torpedoes. A single misstep, a faulty weld, an inexperienced hand, an overlooked safety check set off a chain reaction that turned Kursk from a weapon of war into a coffin of steel and fire. On April 7, 1989, in the icy expanse of the Barents Sea, the Soviet experimental submarine K-278 Komsomolets faced a nightmare that every submariner fears but hopes never to meet. A titanium-hulled marvel of engineering, Komsomolets was designed to dive deeper than any American submarine, capable of withstanding pressures over 1,000 meters below the surface. It was a ghostly predator of the deep, carrying torpedoes armed with conventional and nuclear warheads, its sleek body a testament to Soviet ambition and technological audacity. Yet, on that fateful day, all of its power and promise became irrelevant against the invisible enemy that would strike from within. While submerged, moving silently through freezing waters about 180 kilometers southwest of Norway's Bear Island, a short circuit ignited a fire in the engineering compartment. The blaze spread through bulkhead cable penetrations, despite the crew's attempts to isolate it. Smoke, searing heat, and electrical failures crippled the submarine, and the temperatures inside soared to nearly 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The reactor automatically shut down, propulsion was lost, and the vessel teetered on the brink of disaster. Panic and urgency gripped the crew as alarms blared, and the submarine, normally a fortress beneath the waves, became a suffocating, burning tomb. In a desperate bid to survive, the crew executed an emergency ballast blow. 11 minutes after the fire began, Komsomolets broke the surface, giving the sailors a fleeting chance at life in the open sea. Distress signals went out, and many abandoned ship, plunging into the near-freezing high-to-sea waters. The sea, calm in appearance, was lethal. Hypothermia quickly became a silent killer. Others clung to life rafts, fighting waves, exhaustion, and the bitter cold, knowing that rescue was their only hope. For hours, Komsomolets floated like a wounded leviathan. The fire continued to rage, fed by the very air systems designed to keep the crew alive, turning survival inside into a deadly gamble. Then, hours later, the submarine slipped beneath the waves, vanishing into the abyss at a depth of 1,180 meters, taking with it the lives of those who had not yet escaped. Only 27 of the 69 aboard survived. Many perished in the freezing waters, others in injuries sustained during the fire or the sinking, and the commanding officer, Captain First Rank Evgeny Vanin, went down with his vessel. The Komsomolets sank with its secrets intact. 8 standard torpedoes and 2 nuclear warhead-armed torpedoes resting on the ocean floor, silent witnesses to the chaos above. Rescue efforts faced brutal conditions. Aircraft dropped life rafts, but wind and waves rendered many useless. Only a floating fish factory, arriving more than an hour after the sub sank, was able to save the survivors clinging desperately to life. The aftermath was both technical and human. The wreck, lying a mile and a half beneath the waves, became a focus of environmental concern. Expeditions revealed minor radioactive leakage from one of the nuclear torpedoes, prompting efforts to seal the wreck with special jelly-like compounds designed to last decades. Meanwhile, the human cost left a scar on the Navy and the nation. Every year on April 7th, submariners lost at sea are remembered, their courage in the face of unimaginable terror honored. October 3, 1986. Deep in the North Atlantic, 190 kilometers northeast of Bermuda, the Soviet ballistic missile submarine K-278 patrolled the icy waters, carrying 16 nuclear-armed, liquid-fueled missiles. The crew moved through the vessel with routine precision, each man aware of the stakes of the Cold War, secrecy, and the sheer destructive power at their fingertips. But beneath the calm, disaster was brewing in silence. In Missile Tube 6, a submerged seal failed. Seawater rushed in, touching the volatile liquid fuel inside the missile. The reaction was instantaneous and terrifying. Heat and toxic gases surged through the compartment. Alarm sirens screamed. The weapons officer, Alexander Petrachkov, tried to vent the tube to the sea, but the chemical reaction escalated faster than anyone could intervene. By 05:38, a deafening explosion ripped through the forward missile compartment, killing 2 sailors instantly, with a third succumbing to poisonous gas moments later. The submarine shuddered violently, hull panels groaning as seawater flooded in, dragging the vessel down from 40 meters to over 300, a desperate struggle against the crushing pressure of the Atlantic depths. Chaos reigned inside K-278. Up to 25 sailors were trapped in a sealed section. Smoke and gas thickened, heat rose, and every control system flickered or failed. Captain Second Rank Igor Britanov acted swiftly, ordering hermetic sealing of compartments and damage control measures. Electrical systems failed, fires spread, and the submarine became a pressure cooker of metal, fuel, and human fear. Then came the reactors. Despite the automated safety systems, the nuclear cores did not shut down. Lieutenant Nikolai Belikov entered the reactor compartment, straining to follow procedures under suffocating heat and gas. Exhaustion forced him to retreat before completing the shutdown. A young seaman, Sergei Preminin, stepped forward. Alone, wearing only a full-face gas mask, he fought through smoke and overwhelming heat to finish the shutdown of the second reactor. He had succeeded, averting a nuclear catastrophe, but as he tried to exit, a fire-created pressure trap sealed the door. Preminin died inside the reactor compartment. a silent hero who saved the world at the cost of his own life. With the reactors stabilized, Britanov surfaced K-219 on battery power alone, but the ordeal was far from over. Poisonous gases and flooding in aft compartments made the submarine uninhabitable. He ordered his crew to evacuate onto a towing freighter, remaining aboard himself as the vessel drifted helplessly. Attempts to tow the submarine back to port failed. By October 6th, after nearly 3 days of desperate struggle, K-219 finally sank into the Hatteras abyssal plain, over 6,000 meters beneath the waves, taking its full complement of nuclear missiles with it. The aftermath was a tense mix of heroism, bureaucratic blame, and Cold War politics. Kremenin was posthumously honored as a hero of the Russian Federation. Captain Britanov faced charges of negligence, sabotage, and treason, but was eventually cleared. His decisive actions ultimately recognized. The story of K-219 would be immortalized in the book and film Hostile Waters, though controversy followed the dramatization. The U.S. Navy, firmly denying any collision with K-219, emphasized that the disaster was entirely an onboard malfunction, a terrifying reminder of how close the world had come to nuclear disaster. K-219's story is the stuff of nightmares, a submarine, deep in the Atlantic, transformed into a floating inferno and tomb, its nuclear missiles a silent threat beneath the waves. Courage, quick thinking, and self-sacrifice prevented a catastrophe that could have changed history, even as the ocean claimed the vessel and some of its bravest souls.